Okay, maybe we can get started just a little bit while you're still signing in so we can keep the meeting going. My name is Ralph Swenson. I'm city engineer here. We have Steve Gamelski from GEA Engineering. And we have Harold Kopner from South Enterprises, our contractor for the general construction work, the piping. And Alan is floating around here. The reason we wanted to gather everybody here together was in particular to inform the residents that are going to be most affected, the people that are living there at ground zero. And Steve will give a short presentation. And then we'll open it up to some questions. Mayor, did you want to say anything before we get started? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Like Ralph said, I'm Steve Gamelski from GEA Engineering. We're one of the engineering consultants that's here to fix the sinkhole on Washington Avenue. So what we're going to do is just briefly present what you can expect for the construction on Washington Avenue, and to show you the stages of the work and what some of the construction is going to involve during the progress of the work. It's actually very interesting. If you're an engineer, this is interesting stuff. So I'll just go through it here. So the scope of the project involves the tunnel stabilization and subsurface improvement. That's to fix the sinkhole. And I'll show you an illustration of that. Also, we're going to convey the Tannery Brook, which causes some flooding, and convey it in piping and route it down into the existing shaft. We are also under contract to complete the Washington Avenue streetscape improvements and restoration with rebuilding the roadway, the sidewalks and curbs, utilities, and miscellaneous repairs. This is a plan of Washington Avenue. I'm sorry it's not that clear, but right over here is the Tannery Brook. North is up this way. And this is the approximate work area of where the contractor is going to be setting up to do the ground improvements, the grouting that's going to take place below the subsurface of the street. Also, utilities will be replaced in the street as well. There will be a fence around the work area here, and the contractor will be setting up his equipment, and I will show you what that consists of. This is showing the alignment of the piping. I presented this presentation about 5 months ago at the public hearing, and I'll just run quickly through it, but we are conveying the Tannery Brook through piping underground all the way to Washington Avenue, where there's a shaft that goes down into an underground tunnel. Okay? And we're putting in this new piping, and we're conveying the stormwater into this special hydraulic structure underground, which will force the water down into the it'll force the water down into the tunnel underground. Now the tunnel is one of the focuses of the project because that is underground and that tunnel needs to be stabilized. The soils around the tunnel. Yes. Like that? Oh, thank you so much. There we go. This is an example of the hydraulic structure that will convey the stormwater down into the shaft below. This is an old historical drawing that shows the tunnel that it's going underground here. It's about 80 feet down. And what we believe happened was that this tunnel was built in bedrock up to a certain area, about 160 feet, where it actually broke out, the bedrock dipped. And the tunnel is actually in earth here. Our consultants, we believe that this area here was fragile, was the cause of the subsidence, which is above. And that was the cause of the sinkhole. So the first phase of the work is going to involve densifying the soils under the street first. Because what we found in these various subsurface investigations is that the soil below the street, going down about 60 feet, is very loose. In engineering terms, it has low blow counts. And that means it's very loose and subject to movement. So what we want to do, the first thing, is to densify that soil. And the way we do that is we take an I-beam vertically, and we kind of vibrate it like this. This is an example from another project. You take an I-beam, and you have this big vibrating, and this is air operated, and it forces this column down into the soil, creates these vibrations, and that causes the soil to densify, so that we will then, after he has completed his depth, he will then move that I-beam to another location, maybe 5 to 8 feet away, and they will do this continuously. So that would be the first phase of that work, setting up the vibrating pile densification.
And that should take about a week or two.
That should take about 1 to 2 weeks, that phase of the work. That's the first step. The second phase of the work will involve injection grouting. And I will show, this is a setup of what injection grouting is going to look like on the street. There's going to be a cement silo here that's going to be used to make the grout. You have various rigs to drill down and inject the grout, and various equipment. And what we're trying to do, this is a good illustration of what the grouting is all about. Remember, this is about 80 feet down from the surface. You have this old tunnel that was built around the turn of the century. And so what we're trying to do is protect this tunnel all around by building this grout arch. So this is about 7 feet wide, and it goes up. This is quite, I can't see with glasses. This is about 15 feet. And so this arch is formed out of a grout. It's like a cementitious enclosure on top of the existing tunnel here. And the whole purpose of that is to take any burden, any load off of the tunnel and protect it. Now that tunnel conveys stormwater on the upper side and sewage on the bottom side. So we want to protect the integrity of that tunnel. And this is the way that construction is done, by creating this jet grout arch. And this goes into the screen along the alignment of the tunnel. This is what the grout tunnel will look like in plan. It's just showing where the extent of where it will be. This is going through some subsurface information. So, pardon me, I can't see this. So this is like an overall schedule of the construction process. And we're going to have two different contractors simultaneously working at the same time. Civil contractor is SunUp, and the geotechnical contractor is GeoSolutions. The civil contractor, he's going to be doing the demolition work on Washington Avenue. That is first ripping up the pavement and replacing utilities. He's also going to be installing temporary utilities to all the houses that are affected on Washington Avenue. He's also going to be installing temporary bypass piping. So that's going to take, estimated, about 4 weeks to do that initial phase of work. That is to do the demolition, remove the pavement and curbs on Washington Avenue, do the temporary utilities. We're going to be providing electricity, fuel, gas, water, sewage removal for all the about 10 houses on Washington Avenue. After that phase is set up, then the geotechnical contractor will come in and do that vibrating pile work. That is those large columns that will go down every 5 feet or so on Washington to densify the soils. After that has been completed, pardon me, I just got to fix this. So after this vibrating pile densification takes place, there's going to be some settlement. So those loose soils have been consolidated, and you will lose some elevation because now the grains of the soils are closer together. So we might lose in some spots 1 to 3 to 4 feet. Figure on an average of about 2-3 feet. So the civil contractor will come back and he will compact fill in the street to bring the elevation up to grade. After that, he will, and that will take about 2 weeks. Then the civil contractor, which is SunUp, will dig trenches and install utility lines in the street, and we will be coordinating with Central Hudson to install gas piping and also the city with water piping. Now, after that has been done, the geotech contractor, GeoSolutions, will be grouting around the shaft. What we discovered during our investigations, and we believe that the connection of the existing shaft, which is a 30-inch diameter steel shaft, with the tunnel, it's not sound. There's leakage, there's voids, and that's been reported by video and other evidence. So we want to seal that leak up first. So the grouting contractor will seal that. Okay. After that, then he will begin the process of jet grouting. That is to form that arch around the tunnel. And he does that from the surface, so he has these lances, so to say, these big pieces of equipment, and I'll show you an example. They will be injecting the grout around and be forming grout columns in the subsurface. And that whole process here takes about 6 to 8 weeks. During that time, the civil contractor can begin the replacement and the realignment of the Tannery Brook and installing piping along Tannery Brook and manholes and chambers. Then, the following 3 weeks, the civil contractor will install this hydraulic structure. They'll be doing fill placement. They'll be doing the streetscape improvements, utilities replacement, and then the final pavement placement will probably occur, will most likely occur in the spring of 2016. I want to show you what the grouting is going to look like. See, this is just identifies some of the equipment and people that will be on site. During the grouting, you're going to have trucks, equipment. You'll have generators, you'll have grout making plants, air compressors, various personnel, maybe as much as 20 personnel working there. This is the layout on Washington Avenue of his equipment. I'm sorry. Up in the left will be a tank. This is a water tank. Because we're able to find out that we don't want to deplete the water system. He's going to need a lot of water for grouting. So we will fill this tank, he will fill this tank with water. This is an 8-foot wide by 40-foot long tank with about 20,000 gallons in it. And they will be drawing from this tank to supply the water to mix the grout and cement. And this is a stockpile area which will be enclosed. There is going to be an excess amount of grout. When they inject grout, some grout's going to come back. So they're going to collect that grout in a trench and then pump it or route it into this spoils area. This is an area where excess grout will be collected and eventually transported off-site. Over here you have a storage shed, trailer, you have compressors, mixing equipment, various pieces of equipment. And I have some examples of what they look like. So before I get to there, sure. So this area here, where the frac tank is close to where your house is.
Yes, this right here is about 109 Washington Avenue. And this is near the corner of Donovan.
Donovan, yes.
Washington.
Donovan. Right, thanks. So this is the planned layout of the grout columns that are going to be injected. And so these things are about 4 to 6 feet in diameter, 5-foot diameter columns. So as you can tell, these circles are going to overlap so that you form a continuous wall. So they're going to be forming this grout wall on either side, and then the arch goes over the top. Okay, and initially they're going to do a test section over here and over here, and they're going to see how well this sets up. They're going to take some measurements. Okay. Grout is a mixture of cement and water and sand, basically. So it's like a lean concrete, we call it. Okay. This is one of the examples of the equipment that's being used. It's tall. That they're going to use. This piece of equipment is track mounted, and so they need this big lance to inject the grout underground. And this will be fed by concrete pumps from the mix plant so that it gets the grout so that it can be injected. Here's an example of a grouting job that was done right in a residential area, okay, right next to houses. Here's the cement silo that's used to mix up the grout, and as you can tell, they're grouting right in a residential area.
So the grout, what do they do? Drill about 6-inch holes all the way down and then inject it into a large 5-foot diameter stack in each case?
I think they're 3-inch diameter.
3-inch diameter
They go
lengths.
3-inch diameter. They'll go down to bedrock, so it's nearly 100 feet and 120 feet in some cases. And they inject under high pressure a mixture of cement and water with some air in it. And it has a nozzle that as the drill is retracted, it spins. And so under high pressure, that cement and water mixture is mixing with the soil that's under the ground. And so that's how you make the soil cement. Instead of using clean sand and gravel in the cement. It's soil that's in the ground.
And what case on each one of these holes? Is it drilling well, or is it much quicker and quieter?
It's
No, it's not.
relatively quick.
Yeah.
It's relatively quick. You've got a lot of holes we're drilling.
That's why I'm
They'll-
wondering.
they'll,
Once a day, if you're gonna do it.
Yeah, they'll do several a day.
Right.
It's not a fast process. And the noise really is generated by the supporting equipment. You know, you have an air compressor, you have grout pumps, high-pressure grout pumps, you have a pug mill for the cement water slurry that's going to be made, besides the track equipment. The work hours that are allowed in the code are 8 to 6. Of course, they would like to work as many hours as they can. We have discussed with them starting as early as 7.
This structure is going to displace away about 10,000 tons.
By the time you mix the cement with this soil, yeah, I think that's what we kind of estimated.
Now, if any soil going to be displaced and such, where is that going to be stored?
Well, it's
Well,
really the cement slurry that comes up out of the ground, so the
Yeah.
soil is going to stay down there.
But you're using the indigenous soil. Actually, you have a good thing down here. You have like sand down there. So that's mixing with the grout. Okay. But there is some excess that's coming up, and that's going to go to the spoils area. Okay.
You don't have it bedrock in case.
Right.
Except for the arch
arch
on
on
top of the top.
On the side walls, you'll be bedded in the bedrock.
Excuse me?
You know, I think bedrock is, I'm assuming it's been tested, you know.
We haven't drilled to the bottom of bedrock. That is
It's got to be at least 50 feet thick.
but-
Okay, well, I was, it's at least thick enough.
Oh,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This is an example of a grouting job right in the vicinity of an office building here. This is what the equipment looks like. You have the silo, you have compressors and pumps, mixers, the generator, and we've specified that all equipment be sound attenuated, have proper insulation, meets the OSHA codes for sound release into the environment. This is an example of the different kinds of rigs. The contractor has indicated that he'd be using this size rig. It's kind of like a medium-sized rig. It's not the tallest, it's not the smallest, it's like sort of in the middle, because it's basically sized on the depth that he has to reach down. And that's it. So this is probably the most critical part of the job is this grouting. Okay? The contractor has extensive experience in doing this grouting. And this grouting has been done in residential areas and commercial areas. We're not breaking into new ground. We are using a sophisticated equipment here to accomplish what we need to accomplish. Okay?
You want to put that aerial photo up?
Yes.
So people could see.
This is about the parking.
Yeah, well, yeah, but, so, oh, where's
Yeah,
that, you have that? No, the pointer.
Oh, here. It's
Yeah.
that one.
Oh, that one.
Top.
Oh, oh. So, this is Washington Avenue School there, the senior residence, and this is the area right here where the major impacts will take place. Here's the Tannery Brook as it comes through here. So when we get started, Sunup Enterprises will be, this is the area where these sidewalks and curb and blacktop will be removed and things will be leveled up, and we'll start with the densification. And then we'll have some utility work in here following that, and then the grouting is what takes more space, and that will extend from about here all the way over to here because of the need for that frac tank to store water in. And on this side is for the equipment and material storage.
You want this to-
We have talked about parking was an issue that we wanted to address. This, initially I started this map here to show where off-street parking is allowed on both sides of Lindeman and basically this side of Washington Avenue, and pretty much unregulated on the adjoining streets except for this short section on Linderman Avenue. But I have been in touch with Kingston Central Schools, and I've asked them if it's possible for us to have access to an area right here that's adjacent to Marius Street, across the street from Marius, to see if we can use that for residential parking. Because, driveways in this work area are going to be inaccessible.
Coming out of Donovan there, the corner of Donovan and Washington,
Yes?
be able to go out Donovan and go right on Washington Board, or is it going to be
Yes, our intention is to be able to keep this intersection open. So the end of the fencing will be right in here. Garbage, excuse me?
The other end of Washington Avenue, you get a park on that at all?
It's possible. Equipment is going to be out to here, and storage. We'll have access here for a couple of these properties here. We'll have to see what additional access the contractor might need, but there might be some space here to allow for parking. Yes, I know, there's a couple driveways here, so there's some space in between. That would be the best, the most that we could hope for would be whatever space is left in between those driveways. DPW will be picking up trash, so you'll place your garbage and recycling receptacles out front on the path that's going to be provided, and DPW will go pick up your trash can and bring it down to the trucks, whether they're on this end or that end, and dispose of your trash and recycling, and then bring your receptacle back to your house.
George Washington Avenue, what's the closest people can park towards the Alton?
Well, this is no parking on this side. So this side here, opposite the senior residence and the school, is the closest to your location. And there are multiple driveways in there, so off-street parking, or on-street parking, would be limited to between those driveways. And I know some of the residents there use those spaces as well. So I know there's going to be competition on the streets, and so we're hoping that we can get some relief from the school. Yes, sir.
I know you said there's no parking on that one side. Can you make accommodations for residents?
We might be able to talk to Corporation Council about special permits. So we're going to try to do whatever we can here.
A lot of access to for fire and ambulance.
Fire trucks will be able to access back to this point here, and back to the end of where the storage, the stockpile is. And that distance is about 300 feet or so. And they'll be able to access from either end. The contractor, we've asked the contractor not to have, our contractors not to have, to carpool. And we have space perhaps down at our Wilbur annex, a large area. We could devote an area down there for contractor parking, and then they have utility trucks on the job that they're going to need on site anyway. So they'll be able to carry their labor back and forth using the trucks that are on site that they're going to be using.
Rob, are there going to be personnel there to assist the neighbors and just folks driving around? Assist them in where to go, how to get there? Are you going to have handbags for the neighbors, for those nearest the home, the nearest the site, so that you have people helping? Are there going to be personnel involved in that?
Well, we're going to have inspectors on site, but we're not going to have necessarily there's not a plan to have, the contractor will have some kind of traffic controls in place, but if there's not a plan to have support staff by the contractors on site for that type of work. We can set up some signs to make sure that people know where they can and cannot drive through. But we're not going to have people there to help individuals.
What number of weeks do you expect parking to be an issue?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get you next time. Your next one. Yes, sir.
How many weeks do you expect parking to be an issue?
Work in this area is going to take probably 4 or 5 months. And then the biggest impact is when the grouting work is being done, because that's when the footprint expands about 50 feet on either end. Then it will shrink a little bit, and I think this is number 85, and 84 or 82. These, once the grouting contractor is out of the way, then all of a sudden the front of their homes gets opened up, and so they'll have access with their driveways. So it will expand and then contract some. But there's going to be, these homes in here are going to be affected for access for 5 months.
Which 4 or 5 months?
Right now, I think realistically, because we haven't gotten our notice of approval from EPA to issue the notice to proceed to our civil contractor yet. But let's say realistically, there's shovels in the ground July 1st, roughly. So then you have a month of the setup of the temporary utilities. Then you have another month for leveling and installation of gas main in there. And then you have the grouting, or the, no, I'm sorry. Then you have the, right, thank you. You have the densification first, and then you have the filling and the utilities. So there's a month there, 3 weeks for the densification. Realistically, probably 2. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months there. Then there's additional work in the street to put in the control structure, fill, and start shaping up the streets and getting utilities of the water mains and sewer. And then you have the street work. So it's almost 6 months to this point here before we get into the paving work.
End of the year.
Yes, end of the year. Hang on, Mr. Binkley. Yes, ma'am?
I just have a quick question for parking and traffic. Onto the left on Linden Avenue, one back to that
Okay,
overhead thing.
right.
Right now it's a speedway going Delta Place where County Road comes in. Right now it's speedway. Parking is absolutely ridiculous to the left on Linden Avenue.
police force
Well, that's the thing.
to emphasize that area a little bit more.
That's the thing. You call them and you tell them, and then an hour later they come over, and then they're gone. And then they're doing it 5 minutes later. Is there going to be more of a presence, I guess I'm asking, not of your staff or the skilled engineer staff, but more of the city staff to be there to not direct traffic, but to tame it down while this is going on?
Right. Maybe we can put some traffic control devices. Yes, Chief.
You get people coming up Mary Street, which is a one-way street, down off the hill, and they go right on the hill, right on the river. So, I mean, it's pretty bad. It's been 4 years, so
Yeah.
it's been bad.
Right. So
And
it's,
it's going to get worse. Once your presence is there, all the equipment there, people are going to immediately shoot to the side streets.
right. Oh, we'll have to work hard on that. That's all. Don't let you try.
Any chance we could, people come down there, parking so they can't make that extra lot 7 into the blue lane, which is lower to the street?
Oh, this.
Cut down, volume, things like that.
I don't. That's a pretty narrow road, uncontrolled. So I don't think that would be a good idea. Excuse me. Yeah, Bergman is up here. We'll have to sit down and ask DPW to make some signs for us and try to get people to redirect it as much as we can. Yes, ma'am. Most of it will be 5 days a week. Yes, yes. And Mr. Bruckner from Sunup Enterprises is here, but their contract is also to pipe the Tannery Brook from Washington Avenue here through these backyards and along Conway to about here. There's a head wall right here we're going to tie into. And then we're going to take that stream flow and get it out onto the edge of the street and carry it down Conway, across Delta, and then across lots to Washington Avenue. Along Conway, it's on this side of the street. It's on the shoulder area of the street. Goes across the middle of the street here, and then in between here, it's on private property. They will be using, half the street. We'll have to try to maintain. At the end of the day, they'll be out of the street. And during midday, there may be some delays there. There's if they're loading into a truck or something or other. But we should be able to get you around the work site to get to your driveway. Yeah, the work that they're going to be doing by year is excavation with an excavator. So there's not going to be any hammering. There's not going to be any vibrating installation of piles or anything like that. So you won't experience any large levels of vibration at all. We'll be having an inspector on the site from GEA Engineering or Muser Rutledge, and they'll be monitoring the contractor and site conditions. Excuse me? They'll be there every day, all day. Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Van Cleef, go ahead.
Have you discussed with the senior residents, will their driveways be open?
Yes. Yes.
The second question is, on my easement that I signed,
Yes.
the map which is a attachment to that green document, my driveway is free of my neighbors, the impact zone. Am I going to have access to that my driveway? You know what?
Right, we talked about this, and initially I thought the end of the project was going to be about here, but when we saw the layout from the grout contractor, they needed more equipment than I realized, and so they're taking up some space in front of your house. So I think you will be affected, and your driveway access will be affected while that grouting is going in place.
6 weeks.
For roughly 6 weeks, yes. The generator for, the natural gas generator for power, the temporary power, is located somewhere in this area here, about in the middle of the street. See,
There, it's hard to see.
yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's right in this area here.
No, that was on his generator. Yes.
Well, the stream isn't going to be closed off, it's going to be piped. And so there'll be new structures, new inlet structures for stormwater to enter into the pipe system. So during construction, of course, part of the work is to maintain stormwater flows. So they'll have some mechanism in place to allow for that drainage to enter into the piping and go further downstream. But when it's complete, there'll be a couple of new catch basins in that intersection there in order to drain the street drainage. The Tannery Brook flow will be in the pipe already and coming down Conway. Yes, Charlie?
You mentioned inspectors. Is there going to be a full-time clerk who works reporting back to your office on this project?
There's an inspector that is going to be working for GEA Engineering and for Muser Rutledge when the grouting takes place. Their inspector will report directly to Steve, and Steve and I will coordinate.
You mentioned grout. The design mix for the strength of the grout, will that be tested on a regular basis?
Yes.
So that we're getting the proper design?
Yes, sir. That's right.
And what is that design?
Well, the mix,
Compressive strength.
the mix design has not been shared with us yet, but the compressive strength of the soil cement that's going to be created is somewhere between 100 and 150 psi. It's not like concrete that you use in sidewalks and foundations. It's not nearly that hard. Because it doesn't need to be. Yeah, I'm sorry. Joyce has been waiting.
Let me clarify the work between Delta and Hewitt. It was my understanding before that the piping would be externally increased and that Conway would be torn up. I think I just heard you say that along the side of Conway will be where the piping goes. And keep in mind that
Your house is right here. You see the little red dot there? Yeah, Conway is here. This pipeline will be on the outside 4 feet of the street. Nearest the creek, yes.
will part of the pipe be in the existing creek?
No,
They will all be on Conway?
it will be on the shoulder of Conway.
And it's a 6-foot
you're losing full access of Conway Street for the short period of time that Sunup Enterprises will be constructing. During the day, there's going to be heavy equipment in there, trucks, excavators, wheel loaders. They will be able to accommodate some minor traffic in and out, and at nighttime, the trench will be protected. A lot of it, or most of it, will be backfilled, and so there won't be any open holes for anyone to drive into or fall into. The creek, halfway up Conway, it's already in a pipe. The other half will also be piped, and so the existing brook bed that you see now will be used for local drainage in that area, but it will be partially filled. And so there won't be any flow through that.
How much of a time limit are we talking about that work on Conway?
What do you think, Harold? A month for Conway?
Yeah, between 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. A month and a half for that section of the work.
Okay, will any utilities be disrupted during that period?
They should not. The only thing we're going to be working on is the storm sewer. All the other utilities should be maintained.
Yeah, my home is on Terry Brook, it's one of the residential properties on Terry Brook.
Okay.
I'm wondering what that is going to look like while it's happening on my property.
Well, you'll have an excavator in your side yard, and they will endeavor to disturb as little as possible of the area that they're working in. Because the more they disturb, the more they have to fix. So, it's in their interest to disturb as little as possible. And of course, their contractors are here, just let you know it's a business for them. They're here to make money and to do a good job. And so they're going to try and do the work as quickly as they can, and still have a good final product. So they're not looking to spend any more time there than they have to.
And the trees, the shrubs, that is all
I know there's some trees that have to be removed. I don't have a clear picture of which trees are on your property and the alignment and which has to come down right at this point. But there are some trees that will have to be removed.
And return to what kind of condition they were not just covered in.
Yeah, it'll be all seeded. Do you have the patio that we're describing? I'm not quite sure. Oh, you have the patio. Oh, okay. Right. I don't remember. Whatever is disturbed will be replaced. If a large tree is taken down, we could plant a replacement tree.
We'll be able to discuss that though.
Sure.
And as it is written right now, the sump pump pipe goes into the swale or something like that?
A swale. It's a grass channel. It's a very shallow ditch.
So this is what's above ground.
Yes.
Is it possible to have that put into below frost level?
Below you, there is a catch basin that this swale drains to and then ties into the larger pipe. So it's possible to talk about, some other improvements. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I don't know if you were concerned that on Conway Place, what is that work going to be done on the stream?
It's going to.
Does it need that to start?
The work will be Mr. Bruckner, you'll be starting from the Washington Avenue and working upstream. Do you have an idea how long the total project from Washington Avenue, when you start digging, not when you put in the special diversion structure?
No, I don't have it in my head.
But if we extrapolate, it's a month and a half to do Conway. So if we say it's a month, say, to get through those private properties between Washington Avenue and Delta, that makes 2.5 months to do that piping work. Maybe add a couple weeks for restoration and paving. So you're looking at, for that piping work, about 3 months or so.
When will it begin?
The first stage, if we say start July 1st, will take a month to prep Washington Avenue. After they prep Washington Avenue, they can immediately start their piping. So this 3-week time frame here will be almost enough time for them to install the pipe between the diversion structure and Delta Street, or Delta Avenue. They then have to step back, depending on how many crews Harold has. But then some has to step back and do some work here back in Washington Avenue. And he may like to have a second crew to do this, I don't know. If he does have to step back, then you have a 1-month window. And then while the jet grouting is taking place, they can finish up the rest of the work.
Just have a couple other questions. Will there be, for the construction that's going to be done with people working on this project, will they also be parking on Hewitt Place? I imagine they will.
Well, I tried to address that before. We're going to try to have them park in a remote location and then carpool as much as possible, because we want to preserve that on-street parking as much as we can. So they're going to need a couple utility vehicles on the job to run parts, just for support equipment and that kind of thing. So there will be a couple extra, 2 or 3 extra pickups probably, I can imagine. There'll be a dump truck or 2, and the excavator and a wheel loader. So there will be some added congestion, but we're trying to keep the additional cars as much as we can out of that area.
And will I have access from Linderman Avenue to get down to Hewitt Place?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that the vibrations would be minimal,
Right.
so I'm not to worry about structural damage to my home?
That's correct. Charlie, you have these? Yeah, you have another question?
You said something about the pipe going into that brook, and I'm sorry, I'm wondering about the environment and the wildlife, natural wildlife of that brook.
Okay, well,
It's going to be underneath, and we're getting, and everything's going to wash into it. I'm just worried about the natural wildlife that uses that brook.
yeah, the brook upstream of Hewitt Place will be undisturbed.
Because they put cars in, and that just blocked everything, and flooded everything.
Right, we're not going to be working upstream of Hewitt Place. The only stream section that will be closed, that is, piped, will be that 150-foot section along Conway Street that is not yet piped, and the section between Delta and Washington Avenue.
And that's the brook, right?
That's right, and those are that's it is. I know there is a thought of infiltration from the existing open drain or the open brook is feeding the groundwater situation on Washington Avenue. So we're piping it for a reason, not just for convenience.
Oh, I was just worried, yeah, piping is a great idea. Keep the water underneath what it does, with surrounding, it's just above it, the eyesore. Are you gonna see it?
No, you won't see the pipe. No, it'll be completely covered. You'll see the street. The pipe is under the street. Where it's other locations, it'll be covered by earth and grass.
And the stream is not going to flood into everybody's yard out there?
No, the flow should be better than it is today. Charlie's been had his hand up here.
I want to return to my question about clerk of the works. Typically, a project of this size, as a clerk of the works employed by the city, reporting back on every aspect of the operation to your office or to someone in the city. And I think, I hope I misunderstood you when you said the inspections were going to be being done by an employee of the contractor.
No. An employee of our consultant and GEA Engineering. Now, all of our clerk of the works before have always been employed by the consultant on the job. So, when we had Ramiro Marios working, we had Harry Volker. He worked for Ramiro Marios. He reported to us, or Dennis reported to us, and we worked closely with him. That's the same kind of relationship we're going to have here.
And you're satisfied with that?
Yes, that's all we've ever had in the past.
Okay.
Yep.
To follow on that question, I asked about the design strength of the grout for a reason, and you indicated that it would be between 100 and 150 psi. That's not smart, is it? Is there really any strength in that?
Yes.
Typically, 2,500 pounds or 3,000 pounds?
Yeah. Well, this is a design by Muser Rutledge, and Muser Rutledge designed this required strength, and they've done all the calculations, and that's what's required, and that's what they've specified. So yes, that's what we need. Yes, sir.
Yes, for the utilities on Washington Avenue, you guys de-energize wires, take care of the sewage. How will we get that taken?
That will take,
4 weeks.
that process will take 4 weeks. Then we have 3 weeks for densification, and then the filling, and other utility work, and then the grouting. So those, then it's only after the grouting is completed that we can then de-energize that generator and start switching you over to the power off the grid versus all of our temporary generators. Yes, sir. As soon as we have a contractor on the job, we will be doing, one of the first things is tree removal. And that's an extra that we'll ask Mr. Buckner to do for us, and there's a couple other things that we need to do as well. So that will be a change order, and that will be taken care of early on.
Can we get a package? I just want to those of us living, are we going to pack up our sign? Do you expect vibrational?
No. We're going to have people on site monitoring vibration. The vibration that's going to be experienced, if there is any at all, will be down the street from you during the densification process. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Right? Well, we'll be monitoring for vibration there, and we installed sheeting there by your house several years ago, and we had special equipment there to monitor how much the magnitude of the vibration, and we expect the vibration levels to be less this time around
than they were that time.
Ralph, when you drove those sheets in the ground,
Yes.
the noise from that, how is this noise compared to
It will be somewhat less. A flat sheet, when you're driving, vibrating a flat sheet, there's a big surface area, and so that makes a lot more noise. This was going to be an H pile, so it's a much more reduced surface area and stiffer, and the pile will go down relatively quickly, and then they'll allow it to vibrate for up to 2 minutes while the densification is taking place, and then they'll retract it. So the vibration levels will be somewhat less, will be somewhat more extended.
Ralph, I read the newspaper, that's the only information I have, is what I'm reading in the newspaper, but we lost a lot of time in getting easements or rights of ways from residents. I think there were 7 or 10 of them that we were negotiating.
It was 12 total.
Well, but then let me ask you this question. Of the 12, one of them received $50,000 for an easement. What's wrong with that?
Well, I think that's a larger discussion we need to have with Andy. There was some difficulties there. We're using their property much more intensively, and so that was the rationale behind it. That's the best explanation I can give you.
Well, the corporation council's here, you can probably feel that question.
Yeah, well, I don't know that this is the time. We're talking about impacts by this project. We're not talking about other issues. So you'll have to take that up with
Fair to the people who are going to be in.
Yeah, we're trying to be fair to them today to answer their questions about how their lives are going to be disrupted for this 4 to 6 months here. And I'd like to keep the discussion with that. Thanks. Yes, yeah, Mike.
I have a question. It seems like you minimize the parking issues here. It's going to be great inconvenience for anyone who lives in that area to carry groceries, anything else they have to get in and out of their house for 20 weeks. I think you said was going to ask the contractors not to park there. Can you direct them not to park there instead of just asking them not to? So that any of
Yes, we can do that. We can do that. What I was trying to hedge on is if there was further equipment that they needed to have on site. You know, they might have a site truck on there, you know, a pickup truck to go pick up tools, equipment somewhere. So, you know, there's other vehicles that they're going to have to support their operations, and they're going to need to park that somewhere. I'm just trying to, it's not going to be a permanent, those are not going to be permanent vehicles parked there overnight, if that's what your question is.
No, I just want to make sure.
Thanks.
So we have access to our homes. That's the question, especially when you go to get groceries in pouring rain. You got to run back and forth. Second question, fire access. You've spoken extensively with the fire department on this?
We have not had extensive conversations, but in the past, you'll remember that we had that whole area pretty much cordoned off when we had the active sinkhole. This is not going to be that much different from that previous situation.
So they're aware of this whole situation?
Yeah.
And the last question is the foot traffic around that area you're going to have cordoned off. It was terrible last time. People running through our backyards and everything else like that. Did you plan on putting up any kind of security cameras? Any kind of extra police presence? I know they talked about for the people driving around. What kind of safety measures do you give us in that area?
The fencing that will be put up around the project will take up pretty much the entire width of the street. The contractor, with what he will be installing, will not be able to control foot traffic. So we need to add signage. Chief, can you answer that?
Just to emphasize,
talking about removing street lights themselves. Well, I think we can leave whatever we want to leave there. We would have to instruct them to remove it, and, unless there's something that you want to remove, everything will remain.
Ralph, back to the point, just wanted to double check on what you said. For Linderman Avenue between Washington and the wall, you will be allowed to park on both sides of that street, is that what you said, or the Main Street?
On Linderman, between Washington and Wall, there's no restrictions currently, no sign restrictions for parking.
People can park there,
You said
and
so?
starting running down, they can park on the side opposite from the school.
That's right.
You also said you asked the school about some parking in the parking lot. You didn't say that it's not.
They asked me to supply them with a request. I did, and a map to indicate the area that we were interested in, and I have not heard back yet.
When do you expect to do that?
We'll follow up tomorrow.
Very good, right?
That brings up another question. I mean, if you say on Linderman, between Washington and Wall, I mean, right now that's the detour. And that is very dangerous at this point, because people don't stop.
Right.
And it's hard to get through there.
It may not be
So,
the residential
is there
park.
another way to make another detour so that they're going on Pearl Street and then going down another way?
Well, the detour starts up near North Front Street, Clinton Avenue, and it tries to push everybody down Clinton Avenue.
They all come down Linderman.
I know, because they think they can take a shortcut.
Yeah, I know. So is there any way to address that? Because it's a real problem right now. It's a real problem because people don't stop. And parking on both sides of the street is going to make it even more problematic.
The only thing I think we can really do is to exclude commercial traffic. Through commercial traffic, if it's a pedestrian car, I'm not sure that there's any way to exclude them.
Can you just put the signs that say detour and move one block up to Warren Street? That would cut down the meeting.
Yeah, we'll ask DPW to put up some more signs like that, yes, sure.
I would agree with that. I have had so many troubles there. They're not used to stopping there, so that's the whole point.
Well, there's always been a traffic light there, so they should be used to controlled intersections. Yes, I understand people don't follow the traffic laws, but the chief will do what he can.
At Conway Place, going on Josephine, we have a stop sign right there.
Right.
Nobody ever stops. It's last by.
Yeah.
Josephine to go, no one stops. Where's your mind? I was there and do videos all day.
I know there's a lot of rolling stops that happen. Yes, ma'am.
I want to put a speed bump on you in place. Because it's all right. And so we got the size of your like a lunch. And only to us on that end, 2 or 3 feet. Is it possible to organize something with the senior residents, since it's closer to where the families are that are mostly in agreement? And maybe we can come something out with senior residents, bring them closer for parking and for their groceries and for whatever else they may have to go in. Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility. I'm trying to avoid, I would rather have worked with the school district, but I'll contact them.
They have to bring groceries. I mean, like at least that's in the areas closer
catch basin, I believe, gets replaced in this project. The sewer manhole, I'll ask DPW to take a look at it. Maybe it just needs to be reset or replaced. But
it just seems like that area
There are holes
now
where you can look down, down into the road. There's holes.
oh, okay. Maybe they have a broken pipe there.
Washed out, just like Washington Avenue, because water would rush through there like it was a river coming
So
down.
maybe the sewer manhole's been compromised. I'll have to ask them to install it.
that whole intersection, because when the water comes, it immediately floods. And so that's the concern, is that that is compromised as well, based on the sinkhole.
That whole area would be excavated and new piping put in. The reason that it floods is because you have a restriction in there in the piping network that's there. And so that, in the future, that restriction will be removed.
But is there a way that that can be checked to make sure?
Yeah, certainly, we'll check it, but I mean, that's all going to be removed and replaced during this construction.
Will the trees be replaced that are taken down on Washington Avenue?
Well, we've had a request from a property owner to remove a tree for him that's close in close proximity to the work. I don't expect to take any other trees down on Washington Avenue other than the outside the ones that are going to be taken down on Conway and through the private property to make the pipe. So I think there's only one tree on Washington Avenue that's going to be removed.
And what about the
The ones on Conway are on this lady's property, and she does not want them there.
They're all gone.
They're also in right on the edge of the road. So
That's the hibiscus, those are really not trees.
yes. Yes, ma'am. The plan is to pretty much replace what's there now. So it's going to be new sidewalk, new curbs, new driveway aprons. If there was a tree there that is removed for some reason, not on that private property because he's asking to have it removed, but if there's some other, now the one property we impacted, the Ruzos.
The one tree.
Yes, right. Right, that's on number 88. But in front of the Ruzos property, there was hedgerow. And at one time, we told them, when we get done working, we can replace that hedgerow. Yes, right. Yeah, it would have to be a reasonable vegetation.
Two questions. One, at night, at the construction site, will there be generators running all night long through this whole process?
There'll be potentially two generators, and that is to provide the utility power for the houses that are in that ground zero work area. They will be sound suppressed, and so the noise level will be as low as it possibly can be.
How about the lighting? Last time I know that there was a very, very bright light kept on out there.
That was installed by Air Construction during our previous tunnel repair work, and that has since been taken down. And we don't have any plans to add any more unless the contractor wants to put some additional area lighting up that doesn't interfere with everybody else for security, site security.
Okay, and between my property and Kathy's, the brook is right on my property line. But since you had it surveyed a couple of years ago, all markings are pretty much gone. And will I have clear marking of the property lines when the construction is complete?
Did you have a monument there before?
There are little markings. There's a stone back at the back of the property, and then there's another one up at the front.
If there was monumenting there before, we can have monuments replaced. So we can have a steel rod with a cap installed at those locations if you wish.
I'm listening and I'm hearing that some people have requested that trees or shrubs be removed or that they live in.
property, yes, it is for you.
I do have some junk things
As long as it's relative, as long as it's close to the works, I mean, I don't want to go on the other side of the property.
It's right on the street.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then,
Make it easier for the.
yes.
Rob, Mr. Mayor, I think that's the question.
I just wanted to, the chief's over here, just real quick. You're going to have a footpath, pretty much.
Yes.
Or, okay, so hear me out. You're going to have a footpath be going from, let's say, the sidewalk ending at the senior residence, gas money neighbor's house. Reasonable? Here's my suggestion. The amount of individuals or whatever, nature, or less nature that, criminal maybe you can, through the water street a lot. Here's my suggestion. You're going to have this footpath again. Footpath that you use for this approach. Is it not possible that you can say, put up a sign at the end of the construction site, this is private property, and that, that's incorrect with this, yeah.
Honestly, it's, the city workers and construction access my property. I don't want to be access my property.
Right. Yeah, no, we can,
One person falls and they'll have something got a lawsuit because somebody's walking much closer to our house than they should be. And what kind of protection from that standpoint?
well, I guess someone could trip on your sidewalk out by the street and still subject you to some kind of a lawsuit, but that walkway will be maintained by our civil contractor to be in a reasonable condition. So it'll be a gravel path.
Ralph, on a safety issue, earlier attempts to contain the sinkhole back in 2012, a water department backhoe dug up a gas line, natural gas line, and gas permeated the neighborhood. At the time, Mark Brown was only a lieutenant, he's the chief now, but he was getting ready to evacuate that whole intersection, Lindenman and Washington. Until Central Hudson found out where the main valve was, shut it off. But he was within inches of evacuating that whole area. If there's going to be excavation of the surface of that street, you should keep in mind, and I'm sure you do, that just beneath the surface is a network of natural gas lines. And if you tear up another one of those natural gas lines, and Central Hudson isn't there to shut the valve, you could have a disaster.
Central Hudson is, right.
I was there when Mark Brown was getting ready to evacuate the area.
Central Hudson will be working with Sonic Enterprises to install the temporary gas lines to each home. The gas line in the work zone will be de-energized during the excavation that they will be that will be taking place.
So these lines will be laying on the surface, is that what you're saying? It's temporary?
No, they will be buried.
Buried outside the actual construction zone.
Yes.
Yes, they'll be in the front yards closer to the home.
What about the driveways cut through the front yard?
Those areas will be excavated. The trenching will be through them. And then when the work is done, they'll be restored. The gas service will then be rerouted to the main in the street, as will the sanitary and water services.
So how many homes did you say were in the zone? 10?
I guess something like